how would you define Pakistan then, Kartikeya? Pakistan is a very strange case of the military controlling power. It doesn't have to stage a coup now to capture power anymore. It's always in power. It's the eternal establishment.
I would,
it's an imperfect democracy.
This stays with me. The ambassadors are the better person, the experts. So Jinnah did not choose to become the Prime Minister of Pakistan like Pandit Ji in India.
Yes.
He chose to become the Governor General of Pakistan.
Yes.
वो बुनियादी गलत है.
Yes. Absolutely. In fact, Ambassador Sajjanhar, I was in Pakistan many years ago, and I was speaking to one of the federal ministers there, and he was from India, and he mentioned this point that Kartikeya made. He said that, look, the problem with us and you is that our father died soon after partition, whereas you had a steady hand that led you for almost 2 decades and put you on the path of democracy. I mean, he was hinting at the fact that, look, we are an imperfect democracy and we live in fear of the military. How long is this going to continue? You see any possibility of a civilian prime minister, actually coming to power in Pakistan with full powers, like say they do in India? Nawaz Sharif at one point was the only politician in Pakistan, but he is now co-opted by the military.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll really have to wait and see. I think these are very relevant points that have been made by you and by Kartikeya. But, by that argument, one would, be forced to suggest that Pakistan is a democracy. I think Pakistan is a hypocrisy as far as, pursuit of democratic principles or rules are concerned, because it is always the army that decides.
Yes.
In 2018, when Nawaz Sharif was put behind bars and he was disqualified from participating in elections, meaning, what was it? It is because he had stepped on the toes of the army.
Right.
That's all. And at that time, even Imran Khan did not have much of a base, and that is why it is said he was a selected prime minister.
He was a selected prime minister. In fact, I was just reminded, Ambassador Sajjanhar, of this. I have this plant right here. It's a bonsai, and that's what they say about Pakistan. Pakistan is a bonsai democracy. It's always in the shade of the powerful Pakistan army. So, but you've gone a little ahead and you call it a hypocrisy. But that point is well taken, Kartikeya. The fact that all these countries, they're all different, very important countries. South Africa as well.
On serious note, if you ask me, on serious note, Pakistan can, I think, only become a democracy if you put it under some land reform.
Right.
And land reform should include the Pakistani army.
Absolutely.
I think the biggest act of social democracy which happened in India was land reform.
Yes.
And for that, Nehru had to fight the zamindars in the court.
Yes.
And the amendments to Indian constitution had been done because most of the zamindars were going to the court saying that this is our basic right. You can't take away the land. So, social democracy is absent in Pakistan.
You don't have a middle class. You don't have a middle class.
You don't have a middle class.
But that's a very important point that you raised, Kartikeya. Mr. Sachdeva, this point of land reforms in Pakistan, I mean, this is something that we take for granted. India mein land reform ho gaya, fine, it's okay. But in Pakistan, the feudal elite, the 20 or 22 families that control Pakistan, they continue in power for 70, 80 years. They're almost like the military. So you see this thing of that, the foundational thing of Pakistan, that you need to have land reforms to actually democratize that country. Is that going to happen any time, or this is just going to be?
No chance. But yeah, there is one element where it could happen. I'll come to that in a moment. You see, the army and the military, whatever this entire complex, they are deeply embedded within the Pakistan economy, running from companies in construction to banking to shipping to cinema malls, etc.
Right.
The Fauji Foundation, one of their main foundations, they have annual turnover of over 26 or 28 billion dollars, on which they pay no tax.
Yes.
In fact, IMF had put one of its conditions for its various tranches that Fauji Foundation should start paying taxes, right?
Yes.
Now that's it. About 10 to, I think about 15% of companies listed in the Pakistan Stock Exchange belong to the army.
Yes.
But where the possibility of land reform could be by a stretch, I would say is that given Pakistan's economic, troubles, it has been doing this.
Yeah.
What Pakistan has been doing, for example, in their summer 22 cabinet meeting, they approved that all the lands owned by the buildings of Pakistan TV and Pakistan Radio, apparently there are about 65 buildings across the country, like our Doordarshan may have.
Right.
They have been approved to be put up as collateral for further loans.
Right.
So you see, that could be the, that could be the screwdriver which will make them, but that will be not, we cannot say reform, that will be just peace. It's like putting your family jewels up for, collateral to take loans.
Right.
And that's what Pakistan has been doing. All their motorways, the toll roads have been hypothecated to the banks. Right. The next one to be going is the Karachi port, the north and the south.
Yes.
The Dubai ports want majority of it. Right. So Pakistan will be selling off its assets in times to come. Now, if that could be land reform, some part of it.
My God, that's selling the crown jewels, Kartikeya. And in fact, we were just talking about it, that the one single defense deal between India and the United States, the MQ9 deal, is $4 billion. It's more than the IMF dole that Pakistan
And more
received.
than that, you see, Pakistan has always behaved like a client state.
Yeah.
So when you have like Afghanistan is like a revolving door, Pakistan is like a client state.
Client state, a
so
rentier state.
You will inherit those. You will inherit the larger issues of those who want to influence you. But I would say that in the global corruption crackdown, I think those countries fare well, where the cost of losing power, Sandeep, is not much.
Right.
The problem is in those countries where the cost of losing power becomes much, they produce inconsistent behavior in democracy.
Right.
I'm not saying that we are immune to it.
Yes.
We are not immune to it. So, in countries where the cost of losing power is high, you will have lot of corruption, you will have lot of different form of autocracies or non-democratic behavior in place, because then the whole idea would be, haar gaye to kya hoga?
Right, right. So you can't afford to dismount that tiger that you're riding.
Yes.
It's very interesting analogy there. And Ambassador Sajjanhar, South Africa, our BRICS brother, what's going on there? I mean, Gupta Gate, Jacob Zuma, and now Cyril Ramaphosa. I mean, this is one shining democracy that was patterned on their freedom struggle, their African National Congress, patterned after ours. And today they're like, I mean, the kind of corruption cases 1 year in South Africa are frightening. What happened there?
I think really to my mind it comes is the lack of institutions, because I think it is really institutions that keep any democracy on the straight, narrow path. And I would say, that has been the problem as far as Pakistan is concerned, because, they have not really allowed their institutions to develop. And that is the case also as far, in my view, as South Africa is concerned, because you have now Jacob Zuma on one side, he is moving out of the ANC. There is, now it is the personal animosities and the personal angst, the relations between the two major players having gone sour. And they have always been, let's say, competitors, but they have always been on the same platform of ANC. Now, even that platform has, is missing, because the president is on that platform. He's, whoever is the main candidate. What Jacob Zuma has said, he is not going to be supporting the ANC. So, the fissures and the fractures are deep within, and this is definitely going to create problems as far as that country is concerned. We have seen that, it's trying to take the, the high moral ground as far as international relations are concerned, international situation. But I think the domestic situation, with this Israel, and also I think on the BRICS issue, when the president invited more than 50 African countries as guest states and all that sort of thing. And basically, kowtowing to the Chinese also in that sense, because they feel that the bread is buttered on that side. So I think they are responding to situations rather than having a very well thought through, deeply thought through position on different issues.
I think you made the right example. Truth and Reconciliation Commission displaced political powers to black, but not the economic power. I remember in Durban, I wrote the article, you don't need to go to the black areas to see the problem they are in. You can smell the black areas miles away before you even land up in black areas.
The ghettos.
You can smell it. So, so borrowing from Baba Saheb Ambedkar, I think in your democracy, if you do not have equity or the social democracy in place, your corruption scale will be higher. Democracies which have equity and social democracy, the locus of social democracy, which Baba Sahib Ambedkar used to say that the most important word in our constitution for him is fraternity. It's fraternity. And fraternity is important to social democracy. You will have the issues of corruption because in absence of that, even institutions don't work properly. You know, the casteization of institution is happening because of absence of fraternity or religious divisions in the institutions which should hold up to the powers that be happens because they give in to the communitarian views. So the fraternity, social democracy and the sense of equity, the absence of that corrodes democracy from within.
And absolutely, then, and the lack of institutions, as Ambassador Sajjanhar pointed out, that in these countries, Pakistan, South Africa, very weak institutions and unable to resist, stand up to powerful institutions, especially like the army in Pakistan. But Mr. Sachdev, this thing of Pakistan, how does it play out now? With the military in power, it's almost the permanent establishment. Is there any hope, as we discussed earlier, even in the near future, of the Pakistan military ever giving up on power?
Honestly, I don't think so at all. See, Pakistan has one big advantage, which it has leveraged all through the past decades, and that advantage is its geographical location. Earlier, it, due to Afghanistan, Soviets in Afghanistan, Americans funded it. Then when Taliban was there to kick out Taliban, and after 9/11, America and NATO wanted access to Pakistan so that, their logistics could move into Afghanistan via Pakistan. Pakistan took a rent for that. So Pakistan has been living and virtually, living on or off, rental income, maybe you could call it,
Thank you, Mr. Sachdev. Sorry, we're completely out of time there, but that's a very important point. Pakistan is a rentier state living off rental income. Different states, different countries, all going into the elections, their own share of problems. A global corruption crackdown that we were talking about with Ambassador Sajjanhar, Mr. Sachdev, and my colleague Kartikeya Sharma is something that is going to keep grabbing the headlines in 2024, the year of the elections.
News9 Plus. Download now.